This is New Room Collective, where collapse meets clarity and leaders learn to speak in storms. No hype, no masks, just command-grade truth. Let's begin.
What's going on, everybody? It's Friday, July 25th. We're on CP time. It's a little bit past 10. It's actually 10:12 Pacific Standard Time. And just want to say what's going on to everybody. Hopefully all is well. Me and Ray had to take a little bit of a hiatus. As you know, it is 4th of July. He's got some explosive growth going on. I've got explosive growth going on, but we don't ever want to stop this right here. Shout out to Joe, producer, owner of the station. He's like, Fred. I'm like, bro. So yeah, we're everything's all good. And as we're expanding out here, me and Ray wanted to give you some updates and some news as to what's going on, but also really have some real conversations, because that's how New Room started. We're on a really pretty secure channel where we can talk about a lot of things, just like Joe does on his other stations. So I wanted to check in with you, brother. How are you today? What is new and exciting in your world?
I am glorious and grateful, as most days. Grateful to serve clients and grateful for the opportunities I have and my lifestyle, my family, and friends like you, Fred. Also grateful for the opportunity and the platform like we have here to come out and have some real conversations and real talk. I kind of, as I was just saying in the intro before we went live, I kind of missed these the last couple of weeks. But yes, Fred's right. We had 4th of July here. Last weekend, I was out in upstate New York at Saratoga Springs, checking out the Dave Matthews Band live in concert. And tomorrow I'll be back in Saratoga Springs, New York. I know, a tough life. Checking out my other favorite live band, Fish, tomorrow in Saratoga, New York. This will not be. This past week, I took my daughter and we made a full day of it for any of you guys that have never been to Saratoga, New York. This amphitheater concert venue is right in the middle of a giant state park. So it's kind of cool and unique. I've been to a lot of venues and a lot of concerts, and not many I could go and spend the day with my kids going through trails and pack a cooler and, get a full family day trip in the park. My daughter and I brought our, baseball and softball gloves and mitts, played catch, went for hikes. I packed a cooler full of goodies, fruit and sandwiches. So, and then 7:30 rolls, you walk for 10, 15 minutes and you're into the venue with 25,000 other Dave Matthews fans last week. So we had a blast, and I'll be out there tomorrow for more of the adult concert trip without my daughter and just with some buddies.
In other words, Ray is superhuman.
That's another way to word it. As Fred said, today is Friday the 25th. I wanted to give a shout out and say happy birthday to one of Fred and I's team members and close friends, Namisha, who's a rock star, and you may or may not have seen her in this group. You should see her in this group. She posts, she comments. She may not have been on the broadcast with us recently, but she's always active and a part of what we're doing. So whether you're watching or not, Namisha, I hope you have a great birthday. And the other thing that July 25th is the 30 some odd anniversary. Today is the release date of Happy Gilmore 2 for any of you Adam Sandler movie fans. The initial one came out about 30 years ago. Today's the release of the second one. So go get some good laughs today if you guys want.
Nice. Yeah, totally didn't know that, bro. That's what I'm saying. You're way more human than I am. And that's what I really wanted to go into today, man, because as you know, I have a pretty crazy story, and how we met was pretty crazy, and what we've been doing outside of that has still been even more crazy. And a few of the companies that we work with online are scaling to multiple six figures, monthly recurring revenue, just a lot of good things. But what I really wanted to talk to the people about today with you is this separating factor that I'm seeing online and offline regarding communication. And it's a really big deal because, as you know, it's one of the things that we fight and talk about all the time, which is mainly cutting through the noise. And one of the things that I've really observed over the last few weeks, even with this small hiatus, is that the biggest problem that I'm seeing with communication right now, and especially when it comes to whether it's online or offline marketing or advertising, is still the trust factor, right? Yeah. So whenever we're getting out here wanting to do command great thinking, I want to talk to you a little bit more about that and what your interpretation and understanding of that is. Because in order for us to really be able to effectively cut through the noise, one thing I've learned about Ray is that he's a master when it comes to mastering his time. Like he keeps things very simple. He keeps things very focused, but more specifically, he's able to get out here and really get the job done every single day. So to me, that is a true definition of command grade thinking. It's one of those things where I don't think it happened overnight for him, because he'll tell you about his background, but just in a nutshell, he was working doing corporate gigs, corporate for I think like over 20 years. We'll make sure I'm right on that. Then you were doing
Yeah,
some other
19
things that
plus.
regard. Say what? Go ahead.
A little over 19 years. Yep. I almost hit the 20-year threshold before I bailed on corporate and went to work for myself.
Yeah. Then and since that time, that's how we met, because he was in another pivot and transition where if he didn't like literally start moving around, he'd get his back blown out. And he's been posting online. He's running, walking around here. He's Dave Matthews Band. He's a beast and an animal. But to me, that really goes to show that whenever you have significant changes in your life that could affect your life, that you have to make a change. You have to make a pivot. You have to be able to grow and move in a certain way. And that's really what I want to talk about today, Ray, because a lot of people don't understand how out. Yeah, that's how powerful these conversations are. Sometimes I drop out, but what I really wanted to focus in on today was to really get people to understand the power of the breakthroughs. I had another teammate who's going to be actually, we'll probably talk about her in a little bit, but people who read that creator's book, one of the comments that she made the other day was, this is what I was looking for like more than 30 years.
Shit.
So that's how powerful that book really is. And that's one of the reasons why I want to go more into promoting it, quite frankly, is because that book is like a shortcut and a download of even when I came out of the Marine Corps, navigating through a lot of this noise that we're seeing and experiencing today, but more importantly, laying the groundwork for people who are coming after us. Because I think that's super important as far as legacy goes, as far as helping people get true, real breakthroughs. And that's what I really want to go over a little bit, because we were definitely working on that kind of stuff like creators and from vision to victory for like the last couple of years. The branding has always shifted, but those are just different seasons. Those are just different seasons of the story, if that makes sense. So I wanted to go a little bit more into that and what you've observed, because I even talked to one guy a few weeks back. Oh my God, you changed the name of the group again. It's like, yeah, because it's evolving. It's still New Room. But the whole thing about it is what I'm doing in real time is demonstrating to you exactly what it's going to take in order to really make a brand solid. Because once you get a solid foundation, then what happens is you're able to really grow and scale in total integrity and authenticity. So I want to go into your side, brother, because I know me and you rock and jam on this kind of stuff. So
yeah, and I think without the solid foundation, it's very tough to ever get to the scale phase of a business. You might be in growth mode to an extent, but it's very tough to ever get to that scale phase. And actually, I ran a live stream a couple of weeks ago, kind of, laying out the difference between the two. I think a lot of business owners, I know for a fact, it's funny talking to a lot of business owners. I find it a little funny, but I was the same way 3 or 4 years ago, so I shouldn't really laugh at it, right? But when I'm in conversations, I'm like, so you're in growth mode or scale mode, Mr. Business Owner? And they're like, what's the difference? I don't know the difference. I'm like, and to me, that's kind of baffling that people don't understand the difference. And they often get conflated. So recently I ran a live stream just to kind of spell out the difference between the two and talk to business owners and say, hey, if you're more in this mode, you're actually in growth mode, not scale mode. Or if you're more in this mode, maybe you're not in either mode. Maybe you're kind of in rebuilding mode. And, I don't relate to this business owner, but I do talk to some that are just kind of content and complacent with where they're at, and they're not looking for growth, right? So it doesn't resonate with me. I get it on some level, but those are the people I'm never really looking to work with. If you're not looking to grow or scale the company, that's not something I really have much interest or I get too fired up in. And then to the other topic you were just talking about, something that I think has been very, very important, and you pointed out 100% accurately, Fred, is time management and bandwidth capacity, and how to manage that as you are growing as an entrepreneur. It's so funny you mentioned that, because yesterday's PDocs live stream was strictly about time management versus bandwidth capacity. I don't even think you know that, but you just brought up the topic, and it's just kind of funny how I spent about a half hour straight yesterday just hammering home that exact thing. But that's been really, really crucial for me and important. And the way I kind of laid it out to people yesterday, I'm not going to go into a whole half hour here, obviously, guys, but the way I kind of laid it out yesterday was I kind of laid out the evolution of the journey in my experience, and also clients from, starting out as, say, a solopreneur and a one-man band. Your time management and bandwidth capacity is way different than when you start growing a team and you have 5 members and then 10 members and then 20 members. Everything gets different with those time management and bandwidth capacity challenges, I'll use the phrase, as you're going through that kind of evolution of your journey as an entrepreneur and growing teams and, you know, more team members and employees around you and such. So you're right. That's super important. And kind of what I think the core aspect and what I really built out well in terms of, you know, what you were talking about there, Fred, when it comes to foundations, the foundations within time management and bandwidth capacity really come with organization, mapping out your schedule, like everything we teach back early in PDocs when we teach people how to batch out their power hours, you know, how to be responsible and accountable. But also at the same time, for me, it's about setting healthy routines. Now, I'm by no means the model of fitness, right? I'm overweight. I by no means, but it's very important for me to still get daily exercise, to get away from my desk, to get, you know, out for, you know, I do about 20 miles of walking a week. Like that stuff is built into my routine. My morning reading built into my routine. So now, even on days where maybe I don't look at my schedule or I don't get the notification, it's such a routine where I need that to be really productive. And at the top of my game, I need to go through my daily requirements of getting some fresh air, getting some exercise, expanding my mind with reading, whether that's more about, you know, business growth or just other topics and, you know, subjects that are more for recreational reading, right? You know, things like that. So a lot of what you're talking about, I think, you know, does stem down and start with that time management and bandwidth capacity. And the best way you as a viewer watching can set yourself up with is set routines, set schedules, get organized on your calendar. Very basic things. But it's funny when I go see a lot of my clients and they show me their calendar, there's just all this open space with nothing structured or labeled, or they're just not busy and not stacked up as, I don't know, maybe I'm abnormal here, but I expect to have a full calendar damn near every day. And it seems like a lot of people don't have that expectation. So I think a lot of it is the way we kind of program our own mind and what we tell ourselves for expectations. And then maybe we settle on some of those. And before I kick it back to you, because I've been going for a little bit and I can tell you have a bit to add here, but more to what you were saying about like the separating factor and some of what you've been seeing, even since we last did one of these in our little hiatus, more in terms of communication. And you kind of put me up on a pedestal and said, you know, raise a beast at this, and he's more human and all this. But yeah, I mean, that's a big factor. Number one is being human, and just I converse with my clients, my prospect, my sales calls, my paying clients, the same way I'm conversing with Fred now or you viewers. It's no different to me. A conversation's a conversation. People are people, you know, and there's an exchange of value when you work with somebody. If I can show them a solution and a clear path to hit a desired result, they're happy to give me some compensation, whether that be monetary in most cases. Sometimes that's an exchange of services. Sometimes it's promoting me to their network and getting me more clients. I know there's all kinds of ways we can work that out. But the main foundations and factors that go into my success in this capacity, Fred really hit it on the head. I keep things very simple. I don't like to overcomplicate, whether that's, again, as a solopreneur or as you start to build SOPs and train people and delegate and hire. Still, the simpler is better. But everything to me comes down to keeping things simple, weighing effectiveness and efficiency. And as you know, that's kind of I would say a running spectrum, right? Where we're always kind of balancing the effectiveness and efficiency and reassessing, and things that weren't effective or weren't efficient, I'm going to stop doing them or find a different way until they're more effective or more efficient. So that kind of ties into everything to do with like feedback loop and optimization, being organized. And the other thing you touched on is, you know, what we're going to evolve this discussion into some more is, I think you asked, like, what is my understanding of high level command grade thinking and command grade truth? And I think it comes down to almost everything I just talked about. It comes down to keeping things simple, organized, routines, effectiveness, efficiency, time management, bandwidth capacity, right? If we can manage and understand and really have a determining value of all those factors and know what we're doing there, it's going to lead to a lot better results in terms of how we operate, how we think, and how we communicate. Now, we're going to talk about that some more, and I've been taking up enough time here straight. I want to kick it back to you because I covered a lot of stuff there.
No, all good, brother. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm thankful that we actually do have 2 hours. Don't know how long the slot's going to be for today. But the biggest thing that I've observed as far as what we're seeing as far as communication goes is that it's definitely fragmented and broken. And I think some of that comes from not being able to really understand what you value in relation to what your audience wants, and then meeting them exactly where they are. because not everybody I want to talk to, especially now in the season of my life. It's just like I've talked to enough people in my life. I've trained tens of thousands of salespeople, well known in a few industries. And it's just like that's all well and good. But in this season, to me, it's all about really making sure that the conversations are always going to be spot on. And that actually is one of the reasons why even some of what we've seen with the Yo Bro Lambo marketing stuff just isn't working anymore, because it was always transactional, not necessarily relationship driven. So when the bottom starts falling out of all of these tactics, it just means that there's, in my world, more opportunities for growth, but it's all in how you structure everything in the first place to make sure that you're working in a certain way every single day to where you are consistent and you can continuously turn that wrench. Doesn't matter if you have $100 or $1 billion. Some of my $1 billion clients at one point in time literally still showed up to work every single day. Yeah. So this myth about you being able to take time off, even just yesterday, one of my buddies runs a $30 million a year ad agency, and it's just like some of his clients, like they have the Sprinter vans, and you know they're going to their soccer practice, but they're going in comfort, and then while their kids are playing, they may do a little bit of work. So it's just like it's not one of those things where you're always going to like stop working. You should be able to have a choice when you want to, but as being the lead of your business, that to me never stops and it never wanes. Now, there is a such thing as being an absentee owner, but you have to have enough systems and processes in place in order to be able to do that, and also people who you can trust. If you don't have any of that stuff, then you're just doing what we call in the Marine Corps Kentucky windage, where you're hoping that wind will, you go to fire that round down range, you're hoping that the wind is actually going to actually hit the target. So there's a lot of structure involved with what we said. So it doesn't matter whether you're a startup, whether you're stuck, or whether you're growing. The reality of it is you have to be able to identify the playing field and then act accordingly and market in that direction. Because to me and Ray, marketing isn't something that you necessarily think about in as much as it's something that you do. And that's the key delineating factor right there that a lot of people don't understand. And now what you're seeing online is an effect of that. But typically, especially for these high converting funnels, it requires a lot of time, energy, and patience. And for some of these, requires a minimum of like 100 hard hours, like real research and development, just to get it to a point where people can actually find you and you're saying exactly what they want to hear, and it's in total integrity, more importantly. So that's one of the things that I just wanted to add on to what you were saying, because it's one thing to just continually get out here and not get results. It's another thing to engineer things in a way to where you're going to get the result. And at the end of the day, we still have to be able to manage. And I do that. I manage my numbers. It's just like I'm very left brain, but I'm also right brain. I gotta be both brained, because in between,
right in the middle,
you need to be exactly right in the middle. You got to be in that sweet spot. And to me, that's where all the flow is, because that's where you can make the changes accordingly. So that's all I really wanted to add to that, because again, these conversations that me and Ray have, what I've observed and now am very well aware of, is that they're very high level conversations. Who knew? You know, but I guess we've been doing it for so long. It's just one of those things, because I talk to brand new business owners and they're like, you lost me, I'm blank. I'm like, I'm sorry about that. Like, where did we drop off so that we can have the conversation? But overall, that's one of the reasons, Ray, why I'm pretty much, I think, based on the feedback that I'm getting hardcore online and offline, probably will start pushing that creator's book a lot harder now.
We should. More people need to read it. That's just, I can't say it any other way. More people need to read it, period. There's nothing else to say.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because like I said, for people to just get that breakthrough in the prologue, and I have an expanded prologue in there. So with that, it's like 31 pages. And to me, that's why I gave the best stuff up front, was because if you like it, then you'll just invest the paltry $3. But also, I'm going to probably attach that to a membership site so that we can have those conversations for like $27 a month. It just makes sense at this point in time. I'm ready to really start getting out here with Ray, and we also have the AI software that I want to train on as well, now that I've gotten enough feedback from that, and also it's a very solid platform. That's the other thing too. Whenever you're developing software, you got to make sure that the developers and everything like that are just, everything's on point. You can't be sloppy. It's enough sloppy stuff out there.
That, and it's constantly evolving. There's always things changing, and you got to make sure that you're plugging that on the back end, and your coders or dev team or whatever you have back there are reliable, and being able to keep up with the demand and the feedback in live in real time, and going in and making the adjustments. So yeah, there's a lot more to it than people think. But more to what you were just talking about, kind of the communication gap, I agree with you with that being some of the biggest factors. Also, what I've noticed in talking with people is a lot of people think when it comes to communication, they have to communicate the way that they are told, right? Or like, hey, I watched XYZ Guru's communication course, and now I'm going to copy his stuff, word for word, because it worked for him. And they kind of get in a mindset of just following a system or a script that necessarily doesn't relate with their personality, and they don't even fully believe it. So if that's happening with you guys, if you're like, hey, you found this guru in sales or marketing or any type of communication, right? It kind of all falls under that one main hub. And you're like, this worked for him and they're told to do it this way. But when you're saying it, it sounds like it's not coming from you. It's not really your words. It's scripted. It's robotic. It's forced. That's probably not the best way to communicate. You just also, we can learn from anybody. We can take the best word tracks and the best, and the best verbiage to mix in our stuff. But if it doesn't resonate and identify with us, and we don't feel right saying it, it's never going to come off as authentic, like you're just having a conversation like Fred and I am now. I'm sure you guys can tell nothing I'm saying is scripted. It doesn't feel scripted. It's not scripted. It's very apparent. But when people are talking, matter of fact, I'm running a sales team for a particular client where we're doing some outbound cold calling and getting some new cold callers. It's exactly what I'm just talking about. I put together a framework, and they're using it more as a script and just reading it in exactly Ray's verbiage instead of tweaking it and making it their own. And I can go back and listen to their sales call recordings and pick up the friction there on where things are where there's a disconnect between them and the prospect, because authenticity and genuineness is not coming across, and they can feel it. So like I can point out, hey man, at 8 minutes and 14 minutes in, or 8 minutes and 14 seconds into the call, when you said, they could tell at this point that they're just about to try to be sold something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one. I think the other side, I think one of the bigger ongoing problems that we're seeing in terms of overall communication is obviously in this kind of fast-paced, instant gratification social media world we're living in. A lot of people come in to conversations or calls or whatever very short-sighted, meaning they have preconceived notions. They're not open-minded to changing, and they're not willing to learn or even reconsider other sides to points. So back to what Fred said a few minutes ago, I couldn't agree more. I don't want to talk with everybody, and I definitely don't want to talk with those people that are short-sighted, that have preconceived notions, that are not open to alternative thinking or change or different, avenues or channels of doing things that might be better for them, more effective, more efficient, better results, more money, whatever that is in the conversation. So those are some of the common trends and themes and factors that I've seen, especially just kind of pinpointing and thinking about my conversations over the last month with people. I get a lot of people that are just repeating what they're told to say, even though it's not necessarily what they think they should be saying, right? That's a big red flag. And then people just coming in, not coachable, not open to open discussions, not open to seeing the other side of the spectrum, whether that's their business, whether that's a relationship, whether that's personal life, whether that's politics, doesn't matter. In any one of those, I guarantee you, I'm open to other things. If I can improve, I'm open to hearing how, at least, right? But when people come in and they're not even open to that, or it's just, hey, my way or the highway, if you don't like it, don't work with me. You know what I'm going to say? Cool. I don't like it. Bye. I'm not working with you. I'm not here to be put an ultimatum by prospects or potential clients. I'm there to tell them what's working. And if they're not open to it, that's not a good fit. It's cut and dry.
Yeah.
Simple.
That's what I'm saying. Hashtag bye, Felicia.
100%. I've used that before.
Yeah. We just have enough street cred and results to be able to speak like this. And that's the reasons why it's so incredible and amazing to be, partner with Ray in certain things, is because you got to be real with this stuff. I just had the same thing happen to me, bro. Like I had a meeting on Thursday with the sales team, and I'm just like, look, if you don't want to be here, just straight up let me know. Like I'm giving you some game that comes from not just 30 years worth of experience, but it's in the books. Like my game is actually like in training from like multi-billion-dollar companies. So, and it's just like, the documentation beats the conversation at that point in time. And it's not a flex. It's just like, look, there's obviously value in what I'm saying. Either you want it or you don't. You can continue to do it your way and get your results, or you can follow a proven, repeatable pattern that actually is in integrity and it's in ethics, and you're able to really get the result that you want. Because again, like even something as simple as when I was doing door-to-door sales, we still had a daily quota that we had to fill. But
Of course
you
you
don't
do. Yeah.
necessarily have to say I'm going to hit that quota, right? This is where people start really like bending the rules a little bit. I absolutely had to believe it, just like Ray. Ray expects his calendar to be filled. I expect to hit my quota. So as a result of that, what happens is you really start creating these rules that you follow so that you can stay in that flow and get the result. Does it happen all the time? It should, but if not, let's take a look at why it didn't happen. I don't like to arbitrarily put numbers out there and not expect to hit them. That's to me idiocracy. What makes more
Yep.
sense is for me to just say, hey, let's look at a reasonable and an unreasonable target and just actually craft my day that way. And that way, it like what Ray is talking about as far as having those daily patterns that he's has, like he mentioned earlier, as far as like reading and doing personal and professional development, having time blocked off for client development. These are the things that are missing in business, especially small business. And I cannot understand why. It is not the yippee ki mofo, post 2020 world. You have to be very structured because attention is the new oil. And if you aren't really able to get out here and get it, then it's going to be hard for you to understand what your market wants. It's going to be hard for you to understand what they're needing and what they're willing to invest in. It's going to be hard for you to really bridge that gap so that you're able to really profit from it. So as a result of that, it's a lot of all these little small, subtle stages that you have to take so that you're able to really focus and get the job done, because you can't get that 24 hours back. And don't even think for 1 second you want to start going ahead and start leveraging your time by getting other people on your team when you aren't even a leader and you don't know what you should be doing.
Yeah.
That's you. So as it begins, so as it ends, like you're going to bring that problem over to the rest of people who want to actually do something with their life. And what happens is you end up having this total nightmare in the front and this total nightmare in the back. And I'm talking specifically to people who want to pivot, just like you had mentioned before. Hey, do you know what stage you're in? That's the question that I ask all the time. I like to take that upfront assessment to see if it even makes sense for you to be thinking about that. Had another client
Correct.
yesterday, exact same thing. Hey, what we're looking at right now is an indicator. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what needs to happen right now. But as a result of us turning this wrench this way, this popped up. So now we have to take a look at it to see if it makes sense to work on that now. Does it work to work on it later? Do we need to just pause it? Like these are things that you have to create time for. And if you aren't doing that, you're not taking priority over your life. You're not really being the cause of things. You're actually, this is what they mean by cause and effect. It's just like
Correct.
you can either be the cause of things and make it happen, or you can be on the other side of it and you can be the effect, or you can be the end user, or however you want to label it. But that's what it is. So we have to be able to and be willing to accept what these things are so that we can get the result. And if you're doing it any other way, you're quite frankly gambling, because there's just too many systems and processes out there. And that's even with those 20 immortal prompts that we have. That's one of the reasons why we created that, is because it solves that particular problem. You now have a concierge who's going to be able to help you out to say, hey, here are the 20 prompts. And by the time you get done, it's going to be able to analyze and assess, because I'm tired of doing it. And if I do charge you, it's going to be between 40 to 60K, like straight up. I'm not even playing
Yeah.
with it, because it just takes too much time. And the thing about it, though, is that I would rather still let you know that there are tools out here to help you personally and professionally, because you need both. Like even in that sales meeting, as an example, one of the sales guys was like, oh yeah, well, you helped me out personally. I'm like, well, how do you think you get the result professionally? It's just like you're not AI. It's just like you have to go out here and still do things, and that's the way it works. We tend to label it professionally because we want to have a certain image, because that's just the way it works, right? But when I get up in the morning, the first sell of the day is myself. I'm in gratitude. I think about what I need to get done for the day. I get out here, I lower the drawbridge, I go across the drawbridge, I slay the dragons professionally. When I'm done, I go back across the drawbridge, raise it up, and I'm chilling. Repeat, rinse, wash,
Yep.
repeat. Doesn't matter whether it's offline or online. And that's my challenge to everybody. And that's the reasons why I said to Ray, like, this is a good episode as far as demonstrating what command grade thinking really is. I'm not the type of person who just puts stuff out there without explaining it. But now we're to the point with New Room where we have to really start not only being a lot more focused, hence us going into the book creators, but also talking about our real world experiences. Me and Ray have two totally separate universes at this point in time. I've never met this man physically, and we've made a lot of money together. How crazy is that? And I'm talking about multiple six figures. So
I think we're beyond that. I think we probably passed the 7-figure threshold, just you and I together, but who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
for other
what's the
clients,
difference
I
at
want to
this
make
point?
sure, shout out to, other people who are looking at this, because the reality of it is we're humble as far as what we've done, but even just in one business alone, we had over 2,500 students and they made over $100 million. That was the students. It wasn't even us, because again, these systems and processes are that strong. So my challenge to anybody watching this is to really get ingrained and get embedded. Join New Room Collective, because we are going to go over PDocs. We are going to go over audience roadmap. We are going to go over creators. We are going to go over everything that's getting you stuck, because at this point in time, there's literally no excuse. Me and Ray are still have this open challenge to anybody watching this to just bring your stuff on the air. We'll open it up. We'll take a look at it. We'll see what's not working, and we'll coach you in real time, because we're good at
I can't
this.
believe nobody's taken us up on that yet, to
Bro,
be honest with you. Usually people pay me like a good amount of money to do that. And you
I would
too.
tell you what. I know. Look, I would tell you exactly why. I'm getting goosebumps as soon as you said that, because when you see a Ferrari at the red light, you know it's a Ferrari.
That's true.
The way me and you speak is not the way gurus speak. They don't.
Oh,
What
I know
they do
that.
is they throw a lot of platitudes out there. They throw a lot of BS out there, and they throw
Fluff.
stuff out of context out there. Like somebody, look, I don't know much about a lot of these gurus. I just started hearing their names like around 2021. That's how crazy this conversation really is, because I got my own stuff going on. It's just like,
Yeah.
boom. And then me and Ray started tracking notes together. We're like, wait, here's the source of all of this stuff. And even when I was in New Room posting stuff, I would say one thing, and within hours, all the gurus who were in there at that point in time would go, hey, you want to know what I discovered? Blah,
Yeah,
blah,
and
blah.
they'd be on their personal timeline or in their group as if they wrote it.
100%. Even Ray stuff got cloned faster. And Ray would show me post after post, and these are some big name people who just take his stuff completely out of context. And that's how I was getting blocked, because I was like, nope, you said that wrong. It was actually this. And then their audience are going like, ooh, who's this guy? It's just like, so
how does he know that?
Yeah, so we got war, but that's the reasons why, bro, is because we're the real deal. And my challenge to anybody, that's the reasons why that creator's book is out there, is because I don't want to talk about it anymore. It's like, look, it's 103 pages. It's our brain downloaded. It's all the stuff I've done since like 1993 before I joined the Marine Corps and learned a lot of this crazy stuff. It's from me scaling up businesses from 0 to a few $100 million. They all went to multi-billion-dollar companies. Some of these
both offline and online too. I just want to add that, but go ahead.
No, I appreciate that. And Ray's been there since 2019, because we've done it together. we met at one company that was doing 70 million total valuation online and offline, and we just kept the momentum going between us because we were working together since 2019. So this isn't new for us. What's new for most people is understanding that there really is a code that's cracked. When you understand that there's a code that's cracked, then you step up to it. I'm not a Tony Robbins. I have no interest in being a Tony Robbins. Matter of fact, Tony Robbins does not know what I know. He'd still have to go through my training, because I started from the National Security Agency level. Period. Yeah. Like, how do you beat that? You don't. You just take the lessons learned and you keep moving on. I can go over and that's what, and I had that exact same conversation yesterday with a whole room of people. I'm just like, you guys are just dropping names and acting like I'm not the real deal. I know Ray's the real deal. It's just like, do I need to charge you $1 bazillion? Do I need to give you some false information so that you try it? And do I need to sound like I'm speaking all these platitudes? We can have reasons, or we can have results. We can have this.
Or do I need to drop other names too to make you guys impressed? Like, that's not what we're about.
It's so funny you say that. That's one of the reasons why I took off those testimonials. Because I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and promote other people's stuff. They don't care nothing about me. Like, period. Like, what are we talking about? Yep. We have a proven track record, and that's what I challenge anybody to do, is to come up and just let us take a look at your stuff. We'll see what's not working, and we'll coach you through it. Like, period. That's it. That's all I want to talk about right now. Did we lose you, Ray? Ray's licking his lips like LL Cool J when he got the thing frozen.
Yeah.
So that's all that we're asking you to do.
The whole software is bugging out here.
Yeah, but see, you froze up like LL Cool J with your lips, like licking them.
I think we're back now.
Yeah, we're back. but that's how powerful these conversations
Okay.
really are. So that's what I want people to start doing. I'm gonna get a little bit more aggressive as far as the promotion goes, but not much. I want us to be able to really still work with the real ones out there who really need help. And that's the reasons why we need to get a solid team to just make sure that we keep burning through people. But it's just like the real ones will stay around. The real ones will just come and just turn wrenches, because that's what me and Ray do. We're gonna continue to move forward. Like Ray's doing really well with his companies. I'm doing really well with my stuff. And it's just a matter of us really coming together as an alliance to show you that it's possible to still work together and still crush together and still have, we're on the same path. We're on the same journey. He just has a different boat than me, but that's why we come together in these kinds of meetings to continually collaborate, because that's what it's about, strategic partnerships.
100%. 100%. And, back what you were saying a few minutes ago about like the main or one of the questions you like to ask business owners, where you're talking about and kind of seeing what phase or what spot they're at and where they want to be in their goals, and you elaborated, and I don't want to rehash what you just said, but I think that all ties in to one very important question that I challenge everybody watching this to ask themselves. And you need to be honest with yourself. It doesn't matter if you ask yourself a question that you're not going to, be 100% honest, but a lot of this stuff really truly comes back down to one simple question: how bad do you want it? And nobody can answer that but you, but it becomes apparent. I've had so many clients, and Fred, you'll probably grin or shake your head when I get into this a little more, but I've had so many clients that told me how bad they wanted it and told me how much this was an integral factor and the primary focus. And then for whatever reason, we start working together and they don't show up to calls. They don't send the emails. They don't send the DMs. They don't create the posts or whatever it is. I mean, I could go on and on, but like, if you really want it, you wouldn't pay somebody for their advice. And again, as Fred said, they're kind of tried and true proven systems and frameworks. And then they would embed them into your business and you would never go implement them, or you would do it one day and then take a break for 4 days and think that's how business works. Like, if you really want it, you got to show up every day, especially till you get to the point where you might be able to be a little bit of an absentee owner, as Fred said. That's down the line. Nobody can do that until he mentioned the right prerequisites. And really, it's got to come with people that you trust and you've delegated and that are experts at running those parts or departments within the business. And it comes with also SOPs and resources and training and processes and systems and usually softwares nowadays, and all those things that you might not have early on in your business. You might not need early on in your business. So if you don't have those things and you don't need them, are you at any point to consider yourself or be an absentee owner? Hell no, you're not. Like, that's not part of your trajectory right now. And you bring up a good point, because I think about myself in that capacity, because you're right. I can work whenever I want. I can block off a day, a weekend, a week whenever I want. But the way I'm driven, the way I'm wired, and the way I like to show up for my clients, my team, and my audience, and people that aren't clients yet, but I'm very forward facing, always putting out posts on social media. My YouTube channel has new videos popping every week. It's very important for me that how I show up for all three of those: my team, my paying clients, as well as my audience that may never pay me or never work with me. That's always kind of in the forefront of my brain. And I don't know, just the way I'm wired in my work ethic. And you're very similar, Fred. Sure, I could take more time off, but right now I'm putting in like 55 hours a week and I'm juiced up to do it. Like this is what I want to be doing. You know what I mean?
I do.
There's a lot of business owners that you either have to force to get to that level, or they're just never going to put in the time. And again, I would ask you to ask yourself, if you're one of those people, how bad do you really want it? I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or anything here, but I'm going to call it like I see it. And part of what I do is challenging people. And if they don't really want it, that's fine. Let's be honest about it. Let's separate now and not expect these big expectations and results. Let's just set realistic expectations. Maybe we all know some people aren't cut out for this life, this work, and they're better off in the 9 to 5. Let's establish that and let's find the 9 to 5 that's right for you. Right. But it can't happen if people aren't being honest about their real intentions.
Yeah, I think too, Ray, next week what we'll do is really have an honest come to Jesus moment with like people in the group as well. Because one of the things that I've observed is it's not their fault. And we've unfortunately, that's been a cliche that marketers and advertisers have used since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
But here's what we're really up
times
against.
for it, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what we're really up against to people's defense, right? 2020 has done a lot of brain scrambling for people, even though it's 2025. And the data that I have is proving this. So it's not just me talking about it. I'm actually in some very high level conversations right now, talking about what I've actually observed. I still have my Facebook stats from when I was working with Facebook, as far as just pulling down. They have different programs and stuff like that. So I still even have some of the slide decks. But
Yeah,
it's
I
just
remember when
like,
you were going to the Meta quarterly meetings or whatever they were.
yeah, yeah, a lot of meta stuff. It was more, some of it was like collaborative coaching, and then some invite only type events, because I still get emails for the invite only stuff.
I
But
remember
that's
when you
how
would go to
shared
those, you
stuff.
would come back and tell me about things that were coming down the pike to expect. And then sure enough, 60 days later, what Fred said, like that's the pivot in the market or the campaigns or whatever, was the specific thing. That was always really helpful for me because only you and one other person that I'm pretty close with ever really got invited to some of those behind the curtain Meta and Google meetings about what was coming down the pike. But they would tell their top advertisers and top, people that they would invite to those events months in advance. And those guys would make the pivots and be ready for it. And a lot of us, if you weren't connected to Fred or the other person that I was just talking about here, just personally speaking for myself, I would have never found that stuff out until I figured it out through the trial and error phase. So like being connected to people like you, Fred, for instance, especially in this instance, when you'd go to those meetings, you'd come back and you'd get on a call and be like, hey, I was at this Meta thing last week that was invite only, and only, a handful of people were selected. And Ray, you can expect to see this and this and this down the pike. So I'm just warning you now with your campaigns and stuff. And sure enough, everything Fred said would always come to fruition. I was just lucky to kind of be out in front of it because I had Fred's insight in those capacities.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, because I got one right now that I missed about 10 days ago. So typically, it's like meta trainers that have this kind of stuff. So some of it's like
It's a small
super.
portion, though, that
Huh?
get invited to that. It's a small portion of people. I know a lot of people, and I only know 2 that get invited to those things regularly.
And then I get the question, well, how do you don't do a lot of ad spend? It's like, it's not about the ad spend. It's really
No,
about
it's
like,
not.
yeah, I mean, because even like, I don't know if they still do it on the back end, but if you're so prolific, sometimes they would send the award out before you even know why you got it. Like, that's how crazy the data is when it's just like that predictable, right? So maybe I can start jumping on some of these things, Ray.
Yeah.
I'll probably keep you up to date on it. I'll just check to see what else I can do, because again, the plate's loaded, but what I really want to do is slow down, and I'm asking directly for help now. I really am. It's just like there's so much stuff, and again, like not all the time there's going to be these types of workshops, but when they do come up, you know what, I think I'll go to one coming up. I got an just with like real ads. Would you think that would be of value to people, reels ads? Are you there?
I'm sure it would. I don't do a ton in reels. Yeah, I'm still here. Is there a delay again?
I'm sorry. No.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
actually. I'm looking
I
at my
personally
computer
don't
right
do a
now.
ton with reels, but I do know there would be value to that, and I know I have a lot of clients that swear by the reel ads. So again, for myself personally, I don't think I use it too much, but I do know that there's a lot of effectiveness if you've done it right.
Yeah, you know what? Let me do that. I'll go on this one, and then I'll report back out for next week, because I think that's going to be huge value. Here's the other thing that I noticed, brother, is that when me and you were talking, it's very strategic. A lot of people want the tactics, which is fine. So I'll just go. I'll be up early in the morning, so I'll register for that, and that
Well,
way.
how's that different for you from any other day? Being up real early in the morning.
Yeah, this
This
is
guy
true.
almost never sleeps. I goddamn anytime I message Fred, he's like he sees it or gets back to me instantly.
Yeah,
For the
no,
most part,
epic.
I'm like, when the hell
Yeah,
does this guy
yeah.
sleep?
I'll
Is he
do
a
that.
computer?
Yeah, well, that's the thing about being a Marine vet with PTSD. You might as well make it productive while you're at it. I just told another guy that yesterday. He's like,
It's a good way
I
to
was
look
up
at
till
it.
like 2 o'clock. I'm like, why you up so late? Like, but that's the whole thing about it, though. I think also I probably want to go a little bit more into that. I talked to Tayu yesterday. She wants to get more into that health and wellness as well. We need that right now more than ever. There's a lot of mental health issues, stuff going on. So to answer your question a lot, brother, a lot of this boils down to like a lot of the mental health issues that are going out there. And again, I know because I'm in the field talking about all of this stuff. Like, it's hard. Like, even when I was training people in the car business, I would go to the dealership, something quote unquote small, as something as someone's dog dying. Well, that's a big deal for that person, you know, like it's just like a family member. You know, we're also looking back in time where it wasn't a lot more accepted at that point in time, like it is now in 2025. So that's why we have to be mindful with people's situations to understand that we never know what is going to happen that's going to actually affect somebody's personal and professional performance. So, but humans are humans, man, and humans want like tactics. So what I'll probably do is, it looks like this is how crazy this is. It looks like I'm already enrolled in it. I'll go ahead
Look
and
at you
do
go.
that one as far as Reels ads, and then I'll just report out. I'll put it in the group. That way we can have some content in there. But here's the thing, guys, I don't want to just talk about stuff just to talk about it, which is the reasons why I want to start getting more feedback, because the feedback is super important. Like, Ray will tell you, I got access to so much stuff. It's endless. It literally is endless. Like, even when I was hanging out with one of my guys yesterday, it's like, dude, he's like, yeah, I know. I was like, you know, like, well, I have to get, I was invited like a Porsche party out in LA. It was crazy, right? It's just like, it's a lot of stuff that I got going on, but the whole thing is to not impress you, but it's just impress upon you, like how marketing and advertising really works, how human connection really works, and how we're all working for the same thing. We just have to be able to just focus and just get what needs to be done right now done. And for some people, they need mental health help. For some people, they need personal help, professional help. To me, they're all different categories. Spiritual help. You know,
Right.
there's a
Some
lot of
need
different
strategy. Some need tactical, as you were. Yeah.
Yeah. So the book Creators is designed to pull all of that together, just so you know. So you can go to fromvisiontovictory.com right now and actually get the free download. It's about 31 pages. Just it's the full part of the book just for that reason. Because again, the book is just that powerful. And I think, Ray, that's what we'll probably start training on moving forward.
That's what we should give
them.
Give them the first 30 whatever pages, 31. I thought it was 38, the 31. Maybe my copy was a little different, but I have the full version, obviously. So either way, 31, 38, give them the first 30 something pages, let them get their beak wet. And I find it hard to believe anybody would read through those 30 pages and not want the rest of it, because it is that good. And you know, you had mentioned somebody you were speaking to that says, damn, I wish I found this 30 years ago. Now, luckily for me, you know, maybe not luckily for me. So maybe I want to take back how I word that. But for me, it's a little different. But when I first read it, I was thinking to myself, I wish I had this 3 years ago. And that was around when I got my start online, from when, you know, I first read your book. So I didn't have quite as big of a gap where it would have been super helpful. But if I had made that pivot earlier in my life, I'd probably be saying the same thing when I read it. It probably would have been like, damn, I could have used this 30 years ago. But I remember the first time I read it thinking, if I had this the day we first launched, things would be way further, and I would have known what I didn't know. I mean, there's really no other better way to say it. Now, Fred, you said something earlier about kind of, you know, with you and I, again, I'm very much like you. I'm pretty humble. I don't want to like spout results and numbers, and I'm not trying to impress anybody, but I agree with you. When we're speaking to business owners, we are dropping some high level knowledge, and, you know, whatever it might be on that call, whether it's tactical, whether it's strategy. I was on with a guy, KC, who runs a couple different businesses, has this one killer offer, and he's going to be getting referred over to speak with you soon. I'm going to fill you in on this. But this guy, as I was running him through, looking through the agency he's currently paying, what they're doing for him, his results, what he's trying to accomplish, just that all-encompassing conversation. And then once I came back and I just saved it all for the end, let him talk, let him dump, let him show me everything he could show me. And I'm just taking notes and kind of keeping my mind open and keeping the conversation going. And then we get kind of toward the end. I'm like, hey, Casey, is it cool if I give you my recommendations on suggestions on what I think is maybe going wrong and what I would tweak? And he's like, yeah, sure. And when I did it, literally his jaw was dropped, and he's like, holy shit, you know all this stuff? Like, I started to talk about his media buying, his sales team, is this, is that. And I showed him every little tweak that was missing in every, say, department within the business, right? And he's like, all right, come back to me in 48 hours with a quote and a game plan and tell me how we can rock. Like, I'm sick of this agency I'm working with. I need someone like you and you guys. You know, I talked to him a little about you too. So I'm going to fill you in off this about that conversation some more. And I want to refer him over to our power agency, because I think we can help him a lot more than what he's getting. And I think a lot of what you offer within us collectively would be very, very valuable in this account as well. So I'm going to send him over to you. I'm going to have you have a conversation with him before we finally pitch him or price him or whatever, so we're on the same page with how we want to move forward. But guy's got a great offer, willing to invest, admits where he's doing wrong, is committed to growth and scaling the company, all, you know, ticks all the boxes we're looking for, and he's hungry and he's sick of being strung along by this agency that he's paying $2,500 a month to create this static kind of creative that's drove in no revenue. Even the booked leads that booked through his ads either aren't showing up or aren't buying when they finally get to the calls. So I hate to see that, but you and I both know, unfortunately, that's almost commonplace with what agencies are doing with a lot of business owners, promising this, dangling the carrot in front of their face. And hey, Fred, just wait 30 more days. I swear the ad's going to fix. Or hey, wait 30 more days. I'm sure these guys are going to start buying. You just have to let the sales cycle run its course. And they're just buying time till their next monthly retainer until you, as a business owner, finally get fed up and, kick them the hell out the door and find somebody who will help you. So we see that over and over again. But go ahead. You could take that from there. I just wanted to fill you in on that conversation. I thought it was really, really telling when, again, I dropped what I said to him based off, everything I saw, and his jaw was just, held a mile wide open. He's like, holy shit, all this stuff. And, those are the things sometimes I even forget because I do this day in and day out and it's normal to me. But then you talk to, this guy's a sophisticated business owner. He's made some good money. He knows what he's talking about. And I drop 5 or 6 things. He's like, wow, all of that. I would have never, nobody's ever told me that, especially in one sitting. Normally I would have to talk to 3 different experts to get that advice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of
100%.
reiterates and confirms what we do.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, brother, because that's the thing about it is that I don't like talking about this stuff like Ray. Ray loves talking about this stuff. I'm more of the high level, hey, the world's on fire for real, let's solve it kind of person. But I also know that these conversations help fix the parts that's really broken so that we can fix that other part. Yep. It really is cause and effect, because the whole thing about it is what I'm discovering out here is that people really are confused, to Ray's point. Doesn't matter in what direction. That's one of the reasons why we dropped down in the group that integrated cycle that we have, where it shows the 10 different areas, because I want to start going into more of that kind of training and coaching in New Room. It is just that important, because again, if you can't turn a wrench, it's going to be hard for you to get the results because of your mindset. There's stuff before mindset. And I think it's really time, Ray, to start really getting out here and promoting it hard. I'm just seeing a really good need, and I don't feel comfortable saying it. I would rather the room not exist because the world's problems are solved, and I'm very serious about that. That room started out of duty. It wasn't like I was sitting here trying to make money with it, because when we had people in the room who were like the marketers and advertisers, they're like, "What's your offer?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "What are you selling?" I'm like, "Nothing." This. They're like, "Yeah, it's the craziest thing." I'll probably say it for the rest of my life, because I'm just like, wait, let me get this straight. You guys are charging $10,000 for something that should be free. Okay. So I've always been different in the marketplace. It's not like I came out here going, hey, watch this. Who do you do? Here's my nose. It's like, no, I'm not a clown show. Like, this is real combat lessons. Like literally one of the guys yesterday was like, yeah, I can see Fred was sitting in the sand. I'm like, yeah. And there were clear scorpions around me too. You don't want to get bit by one of them clear scorpions or stung by them. They're deadly. But it's just like, that's the kind of energy that I bring to this, but I'm no longer in that situation. But I do understand the seriousness of what we're doing, because when you're putting money out there, you want to make sure that you're going to get a good return on an investment. And I can't make any income disclaimers because of the FTC stuff. But the good thing about it, though, is just that I don't have to worry about that stuff, because I don't talk about it in the first place. I've never guaranteed anybody anything. What I do guarantee is that if you follow a certain pattern and actually do certain things, because that's what transformational coaching is all about, you're expecting for something to happen, and it's usually positive, not negative. And Ray's watched it. Like we've created too many offers together for our clients to be like, okay, well, look, if you, oh my God, I made this one tweak and I made it extra. Yeah, that you did that, but you followed our lead. That's what command grade thinking really is about. It's about following orders and following instructions, because you're paying us to do that. That's what you're supposed to do with a consultant. That's what you're supposed to do in your coaching. That's why showing up is so important. But if you can't show up, meaning that you have these 10 areas that you have a deficit in, it's going to be hard for anybody on this planet to get a result. That's why we have Tayu in there. That's why we got Namisha in there. We've got more operators who are coming in there. It's not just a Fred Smith show. New Room Collective was founded for the collective, period, end of story. It's supposed to be an overall watering hole where people can come together and actually get things done together, period. because I can't endorse everybody in that group because it's exploded since we've actually started getting back online talking about this stuff. And you see people just coming into the group. What we have to mainly do now is just step back and let the group take over, but also curate it in a way where, because me and Ray are the experts, as well as Tay, you and Namisha and a few others, we're able to really get out here and get things done. That's all I care about, because life is short. I want to get things done.
Too.
I want people to help. I want to help people build their legacies. And I'm not exactly the most graceful executioner when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm just not, because I'm a very no BS kind of guy, because in the car game, that's what you had to do. I'm working with millionaire dealers. You know, these guys got more money than God. They want results. So you got to move a certain way, like, period. You don't, and you just don't stay in the game that long by being mediocre. So I insist on getting results. I expect other people to get results, but first you have to believe whether or not you're going to get a result. I can't bring that to the game. You do. Now, if you have certain things that me and Ray identify, cool. That's why you're in a group. We'll help you work through that. It's always been a work group. It's never been this fluffy unicorn thing that I'm seeing online with some of these guys. Yeah. Hey, welcome to the group and blah, blah, blah. And kumbaya. It's like, nah, bro, get to work. Like, what's broken? You need help?
Rainbows and unicorns, right?
Yeah, it's never been that deal. So that's all I want to say, brother. I know, me and you both be running, but I really thank you in front of everybody here for just showing up the way that you are. You're totally amazing.
Thank you.
I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I know you carve out time for this. And my challenge to everybody who's really watching this is to just really engage with us. Ask the question. Go to newroomcollective.com. It's not the most perfect website out there. It's designed to get you to the group. So I have to do some more things to make sure that you get there. But for the most part, you can get there. You know, the group is on facebook.com/groups/New Room Collective. You'll see us in there as well.
Sorry, on YouTube too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. But me and Ray are just grinding. That's what we do. We're actually we're actually in it, like you guys, turning wrenches to see what's working and what's not working. You know, I've had to fire more teams, and Ray's watched that as well. It's just like somebody's, we're so excited. Yeah. You got to do work, guys. Like me and Ray, we're not talkers, we're doers.
And we're also, as Fred was saying, we're not expecting, and we don't make revenue claims. We're not expecting perfection out of anybody's funnel or business. None of mine are perfect, I'll tell you that. But what we do expect is progress, daily progress in our personal goals, in our business goals. And every day that you make progress, 1% toward your goal, it's going to be no time before you look back 90 days later and you're 90% of the way toward your end goal, right? And then it's just all downhill from there. So I always emphasize progress over perfection. And before we do cut it short, because I only have a few minutes, I know Fred does too, I'm going to take 1 minute and share my screen and just show you guys a couple of things I was talking about today. So I believe I have screen share access on here. Yes, entire window. So let me just do this really quickly, guys. I just want to go through, and again, when it comes to kind of practicing what I preach, Fred, you can see my screen and my calendar, yes? Or do I just have the main screen showing?
It's there. Whatever you're showing. All your 27 open tabs, like the average entrepreneur.
Yeah. That part too. But like when Fred was saying, and my expectations is to like have a full calendar. So this is a in-depth look at just like say an average week of mine. I wouldn't say this was busy. I wouldn't say this was slow. I'd say a lot of weeks I wouldn't have maybe 2 slots here Wednesday and Thursday, or 1 slot here Thursday where there's nothing booked. Now, just for context sake, so you guys know, anything outside of the 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. hours are things I book in personally and manually, but I usually only open up my calendar from 10 to 4 because for me, what I've diagnosed is those are what I call my power hours and when I show up best. So if I want paying clients, prospects, sales leads, important conversations, or things where I really want to show up on top of my game, I try to book those all in my power hours. So I open those up from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. because that's when I noticed I just show up best for clients. That's why I'm glad this podcast is in this time frame. I know I show up and I'm showing up my best. Outside of my power hours, does it mean I'm not effective or not good? Hell no, but it just means, I might be a little drained at that point, or it might be before I get in flow for the day or whatever. As you know yourself better in your routines, you can fit that into your schedule and your clients. So just a little understanding of, again, a somewhat full calendar and what my day looks like. Now, as Fred knows, for me, with any of these gaps where you do see an hour gap, believe me, they're filled up with plenty of other stuff. I have clients on standby. Hey, Fred, if you have a gap open, let me know. I have all kinds of different emails and messaging to assess. I have copy to write. So all kinds of things that aren't batched in that my free hours open me up to do, and I can still knock that stuff out in my power hours, and I do. So I thought that was important. One or two more things I'm going to show you real quick, and I'll keep it short. We talked about how much we do in ad spend. So in one of my companies, this is where we're currently at for the month in terms of ad spend. That number that you see highlighted on my screen, we're spending a little over 40K. We got about a week to go in the month. So it's pretty safe to say we're spending about 50K a month in ad spend. And then in that same business, just so you guys can see, as you see here earlier today from one of my good buddies, and Fred, you know this name very well. He chimed into our closers, deals, and cash collected channel. Guys, what you're seeing here is just all new revenue coming into this business, just from current ads and emails that we're sending. So this is nothing to do with like existing revenue or existing clients or the existing MRR. This is just new revenue coming in. And as you can see, Friday, today, the 25th, with these couple of deals, we just crossed 100K for the month. You can see the last end of day report, today being the 25th. The last report I have is obviously for the 24th, and we're a little over 96,000. Then when you add in today's closed deals that my team has already done on the 25th, we crossed the 100K mark threshold for the month. And we're always just pushing to do better. So that's just some examples of kind of what's happening in one of my businesses. And I'm going to click the stop share now and kick it back to us. But yeah, I just wanted to go over so you guys can just see. Again, this isn't to brag or to impress. This is just to show you what I'm actually telling you is what I'm doing. I fill up my calendar. I'm taking calls. I'm running ad spend in my companies. My sales team's closing deals. So everything we talk about in a successful business, I just want to show you that it's running behind the scenes in multiple businesses, but I just brought up the one I had easily handy on my screen right here. But yeah, just wanted to share those things for context's sake.
Cool. Appreciate it. Yeah. newroomcollective.com, and we'll see you on the other side, but we're in there grinding.
And we'll be here each week, and we want you guys to come and show us your business. Let us give you an assessment, an audit, and some real world recommendations and suggestions on things you can do to make an immediate difference and start making progress every day.
Yep. And I thank you for letting me see your calendar, because I totally forgot that I also have to put in there every week for us Monday at 10 a.m. PST.
I told you, if you want me to commit, all you got to do is get on my calendar. Then I always show up. If not, something's going to pop in there. That's just the way my calendar rolls.
I love you too, handsome. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, guys, that's it for us. If you have any other questions, just go to newroomcollective.com, join our Facebook group, and we're super excited to always talk to you, and we will chat to you guys soon. Peace.
Peace, guys. Thanks, Fred.
This is New Room Collective, where collapse meets clarity and leaders learn to speak in storms. No hype, no masks, just command grade truth. Let's begin.